Just how much could you trust an absolute stranger? C for me. Now, C for me was a very fun time. Fun's not the right word. Very good time for a lot of really good reasons here. So in this, we're following Sophie, who is blind and used to be a professional skier. But since these days are kind of behind her, she's now taken up jobs just kind of house sitting for people. Now, what I think this film does really well, and I will just say this right off the bat without spoilers, is set her up as a kind of morally ambiguous character. With that in mind, we proceed. She's looking after this house by a very rich divorcee, and 3 men come in to rob the place. But of course, it's a new surrounding for her. With her being blind, she can't see what's going on in an unnatural environment for her. This is where the name of the movie comes in. Now, C for me is an actual app. I heard about the app like a month before the movie, and I was curious how they would have integrated it. I'm glad to say it's done very well here. In a nutshell, and from what I've gathered, I've not downloaded the app myself. You download the app and you either sign up as somebody who is blind or someone who is seeing. If you are blind and need a bit of help, a bit of support, you'll request support, and you'll be connected with just a random person who's used the app and signed up as a seeing person. And they'll kind of help you with whatever task you need there. Trivial things they kind of highlight in the movie from the main girl. It's things like checking the dates on products to make sure it's not gone expired, that kind of idea. With this app, this is where we get introduced into Kelly. Kelly is an ex-veteran who uses this app and ends up getting linked with Sophie. They cleverly set up the fact that they've connected without the threat of the home invasion yet, with Sophie being locked out of the house. And I will say, Kelly, what a setup she has. Look at it. It's fantastic. And she's quite an interesting character. Like, she's clearly a gamer. I fully appreciate that. Hats off to you. They don't cliche it, which is really good. There's a little bit of cliche when she's playing a game and she's on a headset with whoever she's playing with. But other than that, thankfully, she doesn't lean too far into just a parody of gamers. So they very effectively set up a lot in this movie, and that is what I mean by I had a really good time with it. The opening is very quiet, but it's just showing us around her house, and it's showing us the medals that she's earned. It's showing her mum just watching kind of old videos and reruns of her heyday and when she'd done really well. And it's her trying to sneak out the house to go to this job. And her mum is immediately kind of overbearing, but this is also showing that Sophie doesn't need that, and she's really just gunning for her own independence because she gets by just fine. Then the house is set up very well, so it clearly is a bit of a routine. So she calls one of her friends when she gets to the house who just wants to see the place, and by her on kind of FaceTime showing her friend the place, we are now introduced to the house. We understand the layout of it and how this navigates, and there's a couple of little moments where there's payoff later in the house. It's kind of introduced at this early section. There's also a question at the start of the movie around extra cash that her mum thinks she's on OnlyFans for, or some kind of dodgy second job. What we then see is that she actually steals bottles of wine from these houses because the people are very well off, they won't notice, nor are they going to blame the blind girl. And through a friend on FaceTime, they sell it, make a few thousand as well. It's done effectively, it's done with the support of a friend, and that has payoff later in the movie. There's a lot of setup and payoff. Some of it was a little on the nose. Whenever I'm watching a movie, I'll take notes, because I'll be honest, I just forget a lot of the stuff. And one thing I noted was immediately the thing that had happened and that I knew it was going to come up later on, and it did, and I'm not annoyed by it. Again, it was just, it was very nice. As she's living in this house, the pacing is done very well, and a lot of this moral ambiguity comes in kind of at the halfway point. Don't want to tread on spoilers here, but once the home invasion starts, you know in every movie that you just wonder why they've not phoned the police yet or phoned the local authorities. She does here. They play a role in the movie and they move that narrative along. I'm very happy that she took that choice. She phoned her friend, she phoned the police, it was all good. And when she's caught, this is a light spoiler, she's caught by the home invasion. Like, what do you think? She's going to just sneak her way around all them? That scene was great. I was on the edge of my seat not knowing how they would react to her, because as they're calling her a witness, they rightly identify she's technically not a witness. She's aware of the situation, but she can't identify any of these men. And this is when Sophie gets that little bit of an edge to her. She's very lovely. She's great in the role. So anyway, coming back to Kelly with this app, the first interaction, very nice. It demonstrates Kelly really well. She's there to help and support her, that she's pretty clued up, she's good at reading people, and this is where we later find out, but it makes sense now, that she used to be in the army. So once Sophie realises that there's a home invasion, she tries to phone the authorities, she tries to phone her friend, and then you can see the second thought, and then she uses the app and connects with Kelly. And this is then when Kelly, who is a gamer, now is just living a real life first person shooter ultimately. Like, that's kind of how this movie goes. Now look, I love, don't know what the genre term is, but I'm just going to dub it now, like a sensory horror movie. You know what, it takes an element and really just focuses in on it. The Deaf Woman in Hush, for example, and they've done it here really well with See For Me. At no point do they victimise her for it, and I think that's the credit to these movies really being a step up. Yes, she's got some difficulties, but she overcomes them. Not always with support of Kelly. There's a scene in the basement, now I won't spoil it here. Damn, that was a really good scene. Fucking hell, that was really good. It's just great that it adds into this whole trapped element where we've got a girl who's not in her own home, so of course she doesn't know the quick ways out. With not being able to see herself, there's that difficulty of just navigating as quickly as somebody who isn't blind could do. Don't know what all the terms are. Really treading here. Look, I'm going to throw in a new section now where I'm just going to call it I Have Questions to fill it in with spoilers, because yeah, I do. When the police officer arrives at the house, she tries to shoo the officer away, and the excuse is that she might have been drunk when she made the phone call. This police officer is there within like 20 minutes. To be drunk enough to make the call, to then be sober enough to talk to the officer the way you are, don't get how that makes sense. And secondly, what is the battery life on her phone? Fucking hell, it is incredible. She's on FaceTime to people, she's with Kelly most of the time, and her phone just isn't dying. They call out, I'm sure, a bit in the movie about how it's going to die on her phone, yet it never does. Incredible. To summarise, a great character, a great premise, and some seriously good supporting actors with good chemistry. It's genuinely surprising how good the chemistry was in this movie, considering Sophie and Kelly in it are just on FaceTime to each other. It felt like a really genuine chemistry building there, and that was really nice to see. Look, that's some of my thoughts on See For Me. Look, I had a really good time with this movie, and I would easily say for it, make time for this movie. Thought it was a good thriller, good crime, suspense, not quite horror. Have you seen See For Me? If you have, let me know what you thought down below, because we might agree, we might not. I'd be interested to know. If you want to see more like this, hit subscribe. I've got so much more coming out, and it's much appreciated whenever I see that tick up. But until next time, thanks for watching.